Welcome to Board Ghost, a story broadcast with games as the engine.
If living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, or has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree with me, no. Dying don't agree with me, no. All you board ghosts, come with me, we're going home.
We believe you're out there, hungry for stories for shared experiences. We can't see you, can't hear you, yet we will play for you. This night's offering is a continuation of our Fiasco, the play set, a New England creepy town thing.
1933.
Yeah, 1933. So if you want to learn how Fiasco is played, go listen to our primer episode. It'll give you a brief overview of the game so you can kind of understand how we're generating our story. To hear what has happened previously, we're going to go around and introduce our players and their characters and sort of tell you what happened before, but I do recommend listening to last week's episode.
First of all, my name's Ken Brees, and I'm playing a character named Professor Archibald Von Thornton. The professor is a professor of law at the local university, where most of our action has really been taking place this tale, interestingly enough. So we're really talking about cult that's secreted inside the university community, but also in the community at large of the small New England town that we're in. Professor Von Thornton has lived in the town for decades. He's sort of the resident, sort of like scholar in many ways, but he also has a strong connection to the cult for some reason, even though he's not a member of it. He seems to be playing sort of both sides, where he is trying to help the cult achieve its aims while at the same time trying to achieve his own aims. Last time he was very, very excited to have a prodigal son, if you will, a prodigal adopted son, return a protege of his named Roger Morris, who was an exceptional law student and had returned to town to take his rightful place sort of as the next in line to become the sort of law scholar for the town. But it was revealed through a comedy of errors that Roger Morris is in fact an undercover FBI agent.
Yes, Roger Morris is unfortunately not a very good one. He's rather green, and he has been sent kind of on his first assignment here to town, though we're not really entirely sure if he's been sent here or if he kind of decided this would be a good place to try and prove himself. He's been very enthusiastic, has gotten caught a couple times in the office of Professor Gruyere, who's of ancient languages, and is now sitting handcuffed to a desk while he awaits the security guards who are trying to get a hold of the sheriff.
Why is he handcuffed?
Because he was caught twice trying to sneak into Professor Gruyere's office. He had originally gone in there to try and get some information and had been startled and had slipped a tablet into his pocket. When this was found out by Gruyere went and told Judge Argus Wroth about it, and Wroth ended up talking to Professor Von Thornton. So Roger was warned by Von Thornton that there was stuff afoot. And in the process, Roger revealed to Professor Von Thornton that he was an FBI agent. And he was warned to get out of town, to keep his head down. But instead, Roger went back to try and...
Did not listen to that at all.
Did not listen to his advice. And he went back to try and slip the tablet back in, thinking, well, if he put it back, but in a different location, maybe they wouldn't notice it was actually... They would just think it had been misplaced. And in the process, got caught again and is now sitting handcuffed to Madeline's desk and is actually enjoying a lovely piece of one of her pies, which is one of the highlights of all the morning TAs. Always get a piece of Madeline's pie, who's the secretary to Professor Gruyere.
Something's weird about this pie, though. People,
it's so good.
People are super into it, almost like they're addicted to it. Assistant secretary of the professor of ancient languages bakes one of these pies every day for the people who work in the Department of Ancient Languages.
And leaves it cooling overnight.
Overnight on a windowsill, exactly. She really likes, like us, you know? She wants to make sure she has things done before they need to be ready.
So Roger's eating the pie that is gingerly eating this pie that was given to him by Skippy Von Trapp.
Skippy Von Trapp, a young, eager TA and master student, I guess. If he's a TA, he'd probably be a master student of ancient languages. And an up-and-coming member of the local cult.
The local chapter of the Death Doom cult.
That Doom cult.
Who has
the old Doom cult.
Who has recently been given a secret mission, I guess you call it, to help promote his way through the cult as he's eager to progress. With given in this secret missive, it was said to use the beam, 2 remove the old, and 3 raise the new, or something close to that. And he's a bit confused as to what the beam is, but he was on his way to the science section of the research lab when he discovered Roger handcuffed and distracted by pie.
As we all become now and again.
Is also standing next to Roger eating a piece of delicious pie.
Coming in sort of our big reveal, everyone's sort of in one place now at the end of our tale, where Judge Argus showed up in the midst of the pie eating, too late to get his slice of it.
That's right.
That he very, very badly wanted.
Yep.
He's sort of on edge this morning, like he hasn't had his pie and coffee, but pie is the underlined part of that morning ritual that he's lacking. And he came over with Thornton. So now the whole crew's in one spot. Judge Argus Wroth is one of the older members of this community. He is well established in the cult and sort of helping this upstart Skippy with his advancement. He works with Professor Von Thornton. He sort of has his hands in a lot of pies,
if you will.
Yeah, so he's sort of trying to maintain his ideal for this town and the semblance of what is proper. And at a university where things are being researched, he gives money to fund certain projects, and they're ones that he is not as enthused about. Some of the more recent, like scientific ones, are the ones that they're not of his century. They're threatening things from the future. He likes his old gods old.
Yeah, the old cult. And I think we sort of established the cult as sort of like a fishy tentacle Cthulhuoid cult.
Yeah, like they hang out in an underground cavern beneath the town, in a lake.
With underground lake,
And the stone altar with some like dark stains on it. He's not top, but he's like a couple tiers down. He's pretty high up there.
He's called middle management,
Amoeboid pet fish.
Yeah. We also have 2 tilts on the table, which we generated last time. We have failure, a tiny mistake leads to ruin, and we have guilt, greed leads to killing.
All right, and from our previous grid, a few locations, the University Research Lab, which we've used pretty extensively. We have a couple needs. One need is to get the truth about the secret ingredient in Madeline's pies, and the other need is to get respect from the cult by taking over. And then also there's one object that we haven't really brought into play yet, we'll see if it makes it in the mix, is a single word on a scrap of paper. So with that, we'll continue our tale of 1930s New England cultish fun times.
Right back to where we left off, where we are inside sort of the bullpen area, if you will, of the Department of Ancient Languages, where sort of the secretaries have their desks and the students can come and wait to go into a professor's office to have office hours with them. And sort of there's this sort of, the windows are open, it's early morning, there's sort of a freshness in the air. Everyone inside the office, all of the members of the department sort of have this glazed look on their eyes. As they've finished their pie, they all look very sated. I'd even go so far as to say Roger Morris has a glazed look in his eye from eating the pie, as does Skippy Von Trapp, who's there. Whereas Professor Von Thornton and Judge Wroth sort of walk in. They are both sort of aware that Roger Morris is an FBI agent, and they are even sort of trying to figure out what's going on with that. But the idea that the judge is really unhappy about not getting his piece of pie calls to me. So I think that's the scene that I'm going to set, where the professor sort of puts a hand on the judge's shoulder before they go into this room where all these people are just finishing up their pie, and sort of pulls him aside into the hall and says, "Your pie, it's gone. It's gone. You won't be able to get any."
I really, really, really wanted that pie.
I understand how important it is to you, and
he's sweating, like the judge is sweating a little bit from not having gotten the pie.
Well, I'm sure we can find more. Don't worry about it too much. The important thing is to determine whether or not Roger has let anyone know what's going on. Are we agreed on that point?
Yes, but I mean, you know this Roger Morris. You know what has to be done.
I thought he was smarter than this, that's for sure. Yes, it pains me. I just can't. Isn't there a way? I mean, he ate the pie. Isn't that a good sign?
Not for me. I wanted that pie.
Well, I understand, but isn't it perhaps more likely now that he has partaken of the pie that he will be more amenable to our goals?
It depends on what the pie shows him.
I haven't eaten pie in years. What it showed me last is what I've been working on, what we've been talking about now. And it's almost complete. I don't need your money anymore. I think we've had a breakthrough. But I'll need to check in on that. For now...
You're speaking of this device, this toy?
Yes, the beam. The beam.
I'm going to see if Miss Madeline's at her abode.
All right, well, just leave Roger to me.
Take care of it, man.
I'll try. How does it go for the professor, fellow players?
I'd say it goes well.
Okay, sweet. I nod and immediately leave the situation once the judge is out of eyesight. Eyeline? Yeah. I head away. I don't go into the room. I don't talk to Roger. I don't talk to Skippy. I just take off.
All right, where are you heading?
I'm heading to the research lab.
So Roger is sitting there and eating the pie. He initially didn't notice how intent and enthusiastic Skippy and everybody else was about eating the pie. But about 3/4 of the way through, he realizes that maybe there's something off with the pie. But at the same time, he doesn't want to draw suspicion to himself. So he goes ahead and finishes it feeling like, since he knows what's going on, he'll, what's the worst that could happen?
It's good pie, isn't it?
Yes, actually. It's probably one of the best pies I've ever had.
Blueberry.
Yes. But there's a hint of something else.
Oh, that's the secret ingredient. Madeline refuses to tell anyone.
Huh. I wish I knew what it was. It's quite delicious. How long has she been making these pies?
As long as I can remember.
How long have you been a student here?
Oh, I'm only a recent transfer. About 2 years.
Oh, okay.
I suppose that wouldn't be a recent transfer.
Madeline wasn't here when I was here as a student before, so yeah, that's delicious pie. So Roger puts down the plate and he starts to feel a little weird, but not too bad. But right around that time is when the security guard comes in with the sheriff. They unhandcuff him from the desk. Sheriff takes him, says, all right, come with me.
Sheriff, don't you understand? This is a visiting professor here.
What? This is a criminal broken entered here. Are you saying that this is one of yours? This is
he's one of the visiting law professors, as far as I understand.
Yes, I'm supposed to be starting my classes tomorrow. I think it was all just a misunderstanding that was here. I had left my father's pocket watch here in the office and had come back to get it, and And I think it's all just a misunderstanding. I'm sure if you talk to Professor Von Thornton, he could vouch for me.
Well, if Skippy vouches for you.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yes.
And I heard some business about you stealing something?
Oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, let's take a look. I heard there was a tablet missing, some sort of stone.
A what now?
So as they
One of Professor Briere's tablets?
That's what I heard. Let's go in there and see if it's gone, right?
So they head into the office, and Roger is going to try and slip the tablet onto a side desk while they're all looking around. How does it go for him?
I think
I want it to go well.
Me too, yeah. It goes great. It goes perfect.
Things are looking rosy for Roger.
Exactly. Looking good for Roger.
So Roger's able to actually successfully get it onto a side credenza, and as everyone's looking around at the table,
That's when Guillermo comes in and says, "Oh, it's been here the whole time? I'm so absent-minded."
Well, the sheriff says, I don't think there's a crime here. You say you were trying to get in to find something. And he sort of looks at the night watchman, who's just sort of shrugging and says, I'm just doing my job. And he says, well, if there's no charges to press, I have more important things to do. I haven't had my pie yet today. And he leaves.
So Skippy is still, while finishing off his pie, realizing he has a job to do. Needs to find this mysterious beam he's been told about from the blood-red letter that he plucked from the third oak tree. Excuses himself from Roger. Sorry, I believe you're okay now, so I'm sorry, things pressing.
Oh, totally understandable. Thank you so much, Skippy. It was very kind of you. I know I would have had to go through a whole rigmarole just to clear it up, so thank you for clearing that up for me quickly.
Oh, no, my pleasure. So Skippy stumbles around, not literally stumbles, but sort of makes his way towards the science division of the research lab, looking around, seeing what he can see. Notices a fellow grad student who works in the science research department and sort of wanders over to him like, great news about this beam.
Yeah, but I mean, it's we've been working on it for a long time. Just sort of, we had a breakthrough, and we're pretty happy. Happy about it now.
I'd love to see it if I could possibly.
Should Von Thornton come by? Because he was headed towards the beam too, right?
He was. I like this grad student though. We're gonna have a demonstration later today after lunch. You should come by.
There's no way to get a sort of a sneak peek at the beam.
I mean, I don't think so. You'd have to talk to the professor about that.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So Skippy then goes off in search of Professor Von Thornton.
Okay. It seems like they are both at the research lab in the science section.
It might be as easy as turning around at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The professor looks pretty preoccupied, maybe even a little nervous and anxious, and is completely ignoring Skippy Von Trapp as he makes his way towards the science center.
Professor.
Yes, my son, my young man. Yes.
I've heard of your breakthroughs with the beam, and I understand there's a demonstration this afternoon. But I was wondering if it's possible to get a sneak peek, so to say.
I'm sorry. Who are you?
Oh, Skippy Von Trapp.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure what that means. No, I don't think that there will be any demonstrations before the one at lunch today. I know that expending such energy twice in one day, I'm not sure that the scientists will want to do that.
Well, would you mind explaining to me how the beam actually works?
I am no expert, but
I thought you were overseeing the project.
I make sure the funding comes through, that's
okay.
sure. And that the patents are in place.
Okay.
I'm not a scientist. I'm a professor of law. See,
Oh,
I don't
that's
think you
right.
even know who I am. I don't know who you are. So I'm not sure if you have any business inside the lab at this point.
Just a zealous student.
Indeed, and to be commended, but at this juncture, I'm just not sure.
How should it go, Stacey?
I think it goes positively.
Ooh, running out of good stuff.
Running out of good stuff. Who you said you worked in the ancient languages department? Is that right?
Yes, I do.
I see. And you must then know my friend Judge Wroth.
Oh, yes.
I see.
He's an important figure in my life.
Ah, I see. Then perhaps there can be a way for you to get a small preview of the demonstration. Yes, let us go now. Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah,
yeah.
there we
We
go.
go off to see the beam.
Off to see the beam. Judge Argus Wroth is sitting in the back of his car. Gavers is driving him to the goat farm.
Yep.
That's run by Vineyards, the Madeline Vineyard and her uncle, Daith Vineyard.
Yeah.
He's driving
Old
over
family
there.
here.
Yeah,
Old.
the
They used to be Von Vineyards,
Von.
but then they dropped the Von. Yeah.
He pulls up. He's shaky. He's having trouble. Now Gavers is walking him
Yeah.
to the frontier, and he pounds on the door. And Gaith opens, and he's a hunched little man.
Yes.
Gaith, is your niece at home?
Yes, she's here.
I must see her now. Does she have any more? Did she make any more pie today?
Oh, there's always pie.
Good. Please take me directly there.
Come this way, sir.
I'm led through this house, and it's actually, for a goat farm, it's pretty opulent.
Yep.
It's like a small, like, ranch style, but like manor house. And I'm led through the parlor, through a lounge, through a smoking room, through a pool room, and in the back to the hothouse, where Madeline is tending to some strange flowers.
Your Honor, it's very nice to see you. What can I do for you today?
Your High Holiness. He's visibly sweating. You can tell he's going through withdrawals.
I take it you haven't had a piece of pie this morning?
Unfortunately, I've come to depend on your delicacy.
Well, it is part of the whole plan. It is what is going to let us proceed successfully. Come with me. And I lead him into the kitchen.
All right, which is directly connected to the hothouse.
Connected to the hothouse, where I go ahead and cut him a nice, healthy piece of pie. Please have a seat.
And I tuck in to the pie. Yummy, yummy pie. Yum, yum, yum. So I'm still I still feel ill, and I don't know if I can keep down the pie. But I swallow it down, and I feel awakened and invigorated. And I tell Gavers, we've got to go. Back to the university. There's matters to attend to. Your Holiness, unfortunately, there are some outside interests that I must quash.
I trust you to take care of things.
All right. Thank you for the pie.
You're welcome.
We get in the car, and we're zipping back. Things go well.
For you, for the
the
judge?
Yeah, the
No,
judge.
things go horribly, and you have
right.
a car accident or some
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. So we're zipping along, and in the road, like my vision, like
You're having a vision.
I'm
You're having
having
the pie vision.
The pie is taking
Pie's taking
having its
over.
effect. It was the strongest effect that I felt from the pie thus far. Like there was something stronger. This is not the normal pie that I'm used to eating. And my vision goes like this. The full bright day is now night as I see it, and a thing is rising in the road.
Yes.
And I reach forward across Gavers and pull the wheel, and we careen off the road into a pen of goats
Yeah.
because we haven't quite left the goat farm.
Awesome.
Goats with human faces.
Okay.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay, this is my last scene. These are the last scenes. All right. As we make our way, as Skippy Von Trapp and the Professor Von Thornton make their way into the science sector of the research lab, there are, curiously, no scientists here. Everything's sort of dark and shut down at this point. Everyone's sort of letting the machines be off until they're ready for their demonstration. Professor Von Thornton is no expert, but he does know how to turn on the machines at least. And as he's starting to do that, he is telling Skippy all about it. He's saying, yes, these are particle beams, from what I understand. They have extreme power to cut through many types of material, rock, steel. There's even been some who say, from your department, that these remind them of writings that they've seen, rather what has been described in those writings as the Spear of God. And
I believe I'm familiar with those passages.
Yes. I thought you might be. And so, here, come look at this capacitor over here, and this is where the energy makes its way through this coupling. And if you'll... I'm surprised that you're so interested in this. What brought that on?
Oh, I believe I try to be a student of all things. And I whispers through the grapevine, heard about the beam, and thought it would be worth trying to learn more about.
Yes, I can see. And you must enjoy Madeline's pie then.
Oh my, yes. I can't make it through a day without it.
I thought you might. Well, I will try. For the demonstration to be most successful, I will need you to stand here in front of this machine.
Just here,
yep,
okay.
Yep, right there.
All
That's
right.
Perfect.
Excellent.
And let's see here how this works. And it's obvious that the professor is trying to turn the machine on. How does it go for him?
I'm gonna say not well.
No, well. Cool. So he still is able to turn the machine on as it goes, sort of powers up. It's glowing, and whereas the beam he had attempted to angle at Skippy to try and slay him for the guilt of everything that's been going on in town is just sort of washing over the professor, and he's realizing that more and more of these cult members are infiltrating his beloved university, and whereas he had made this sort of deal with the devil, with the judge for funding, enough is enough, and the idea that this secret coterie may take control of his labors is just too much, and he tries to rub out the young Skippy Von Trapp, but he fails in that. As the beam fires across Skippy's shoulder, just sort of wounding his shoulder and burning quite a lot. And the professor says, "Egads! You and your kind will never run this town!" He starts to try and run away.
So Roger actually decided to follow Skippy because he thought he could see he was heading down to the science area. But he wasn't feeling very well, so he was having a hard time with maneuvering, and he kind of lost the tail. But he hears the professor yelling, so he immediately rushes towards that area, where he bumps into the professor running out a door.
Okay. Roger, I'm so glad you're here. That man in there is part of something evil and vile with the pie.
What's wrong with the pie?
It is simply one part of all of this, a small part perhaps, but it is what they eat to get closer to their god.
I don't think you should say bad things about the pie.
They've gotten to you too, my god! No, Roger, no, I told you to run. Why didn't you listen to me?
Roger looks in and sees Skippy. And since Skippy, I guess, is is wounded. Is he on the floor? Is he?
Well, he's wounded in the shoulder.
The shoulder. So is he taken off? Is he kind of heading this way, or is he?
Oh yes, he's rather irate.
All right. Since Roger is getting kind of taken up with the pie, and he's like, Skippy is the one who gave him this wonderful pie, and he's not thinking clearly. He sees Skippy heading this way, and he's like, he just decides to restrain the professor.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Steve, how should it go?
Well, let's say it doesn't work. It doesn't go well.
Goes poorly.
Goes poorly.
So
it tries to restrain. Roger tries to restrain the professor, but the professor whacks him with his cane.
Mm-hmm.
Roger falls over, and the professor, who even though he's walking with a cane, is actually rather spry, takes off down the hallway. And Roger's shaken up with the whole thing and is, Skippy, what's happening? What's going on? What should we be doing?
I believe that professor just tried to kill me.
What? How could he try and kill you? You gave me that wonderful pie.
The pie is good, isn't it?
It is good. Quite good. What should we do? Should we go after him?
We must.
And so Roger starts heading down the hall after the professor.
Roger and Skippy are running down the hallways towards the professor.
And maybe it's at this point that things start to burst out of the ground like they had been for the judge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Skippy, too, starts to undergo an extreme vision of pie-induced delirium. Or is it delirium?
Or is it? Or is it?
And he feels the ground shaking around him and suddenly sees, my God, Roger, do you see it? And the masses of tentacly things start bursting out of the ground in front of Skippy. And I don't know if Roger can see them.
Roger's not seeing exactly that. He's seeing something a little bit differently. He's seeing more of this like waviness happening with the ground and the walls, but he's not necessarily seeing the tentacles. He's like, yes, I think I can. What are we supposed to do? What do we do?
And out of this maw of this tentacled beast, ancient voice speaks to Skippy, saying, the beam, but in ancient Sumerian. At which point Skippy, like, we must go back to the beam. At which point he kind of just turns and bolts back to the beam.
Roger follows after him.
So he rushes over to the beam and starts trying to remember how the professor turned it on and is sort of throwing levers and throwing dials, and for some odd reason I needed to stand in front of it right about there, so maybe you should too? I don't know if that's how it works, but that's where I was, so let's try that.
Okay. So Roger goes and stands in front of the beam.
All right, so is this going to work out?
I think it goes poorly. But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, is poorly. So here's the question. Well, I guess we'll let you determine what poorly is.
Yeah. Yes.
What it means for the device, what it means for
what it means for the whole. What does failure look like here?
Skippy's quickly throwing levers this way and that, and he's like, maybe if you stand just a little more to the left, I think there. That's about where I was. And he flicks on a lever, and the beam starts and fires at poor Roger. But luckily, it ricochets off a brass button on his waistcoat and fires directly back into the beam, causing it to explode.
Oof. Crawling from the wreckage of his horseless carriage.
His manservant dead.
His manservant is crushed and twisted beneath, thrown clear.
All your manservants die in all these games.
His clothes and stuff being chewed on by goats.
They'll eat anything.
He stands up. His leg is twisted, but he's kind of hobbling along. His eyes are wild, bug-eyed, and he's got the gun out. He just starts shooting into the air and the ground and around him. He's full of madness. He spends himself. He stops. The pain starts to come through, and he collapses on his side. He realizes that he's possibly broken his leg, and he's been walking around on it for a little bit. And the madness is subsiding. The effects of the pie are leaving him weak. That's when Madeline and her hunched little uncle step over to this scene, to this wreckage.
Judge Wroth, What happened here? Are you okay?
He looks at Upper with a hate in his eyes. You know what happened. You dosed me with the pie.
Judge, you must not speak to the High Priestess in this way.
Meh.
I had hoped that you would be strong enough in will to be able to handle this.
You know that I'm not yet in with that level of mysteries.
Yes,
To
but
take this outside of the ritual?
we needed to move forward our agenda. They are testing that beam this afternoon.
That accursed device.
It's something that we have to take care of.
But why are you all obsessed with this technology?
Because this technology might stop our plans.
And perhaps it's time for me to stop you. And he points the pistol at Madeline Vanyard.
High Priestess, no!
What's gonna happen?
It goes positively.
Goes well.
For the
right.
judge.
Goes good for the judge.
Goes
good for
he
him.
shoots, bam! Plugs the High Priestess in the head.
Oh, shit.
And she goes down.
No!
And he crawls over to her and tears open her blouse and pulls off this medallion that has the sigil.
Yeah.
The same signal, this seal that was on the envelope.
Yeah.
And looks at it and holds it tight. And the scene goes black just as he's aiming the pistol at the weeping uncle who's huddled over the body of his niece.
And there's smoke rising from the university in the background.
Right. So now we're going to the aftermath.
So I got a -2, which is brutal. Wounds that will never heal, for starters. Stuff sawed off, blown off, or burned off on your way to a grand, ignominious failure. Kiss whatever you care about goodbye. You may die, but you may not.
Well, I had a -1 and a +13, so I have a 12. A white 12.
Nice.
Not too shabby. You made it out with some dignity intact through some fluke. There might even be a little profit or self-respect or something. Time to throw a little party for all your friends.
So Skippy got a black 8, which is
Ooh.
nothing to write home about. Back to where you started. Maybe sore and broke, just like yesterday and tomorrow. You probably learned something, though. Like how to do it right next time. Next time.
All right, and like the professor, Judge Roth got a black 2.
Oof.
So he's got brutal wounds that will never heal, for starters. Stuff sawed off, blown off, or burned off on your way to a grand, ignominious failure. Kiss whatever you care about goodbye. You may die, but you may not. All right.
All right.
So now what we do is we tell our aftermaths in sort of little montagey scenes that are informed by that little bit we read for our characters.
The explosion is where I'm going to do my first montage scene. That the professor, for some reason, I feel like the science sector in the lab has been underground, like a basement or something like that. And so this explosion happens. The walls cave in, the roof caves in. There's smoke and fire and debris. He wasn't that far away from the device as it exploded. So I think he's like trapped under rubble and stuff like that. Like he's just totally broken and destroyed underneath this rubble, but not dead. His cane is sticking out as his hand grasps it. Help me.
The cave-in happens. Roger dives underneath the giant laser beam. And luckily it's got enough structure to kind of protect him from all the rubble that's coming from above. And after the dust clears, he notices there seems to be a cavern that's leading off of the side. So he goes through it hoping that there's like a way to get out from underneath, because he knows that everything above him is buried. So he starts to head through this cavern.
Skippy wakes up in the middle of a cavern, unsure of where he is, and looks up to see, not quite sure what happened, a bit surprised to find that he's not a bit dead, and sees Roger coming towards him.
The judge has dragged himself back to the ranch home, drags himself to the study, places the sigil into a nook in the wall, and turns it. He's bleeding pretty badly down his side. There's a gash in his side that now is starting to show, like it's soaking through his clothes. And he's sort of unsteadily holding himself up on the desk. Long discarded the gun. It was empty now. And the panel slides open, and there's a staircase leading down into stone walls. And on the door is the mask of the priests of this cult.
Yes. Buried under the rubble. Most of his body broken. Professor Von Thornton can see just through dim light enough to reach into his breast pocket and pull out a single scrap of paper that has a single word written on it. It's a word that's written in ancient Aramaic. And as he utters this word of power, he disappears from his location.
This is the word pie.
Yes. Obviously. Obviously the word was pie. Indeed, he casts magic on himself and disappears.
Nice. Does the rebel settle
Yeah,
where he was?
yeah.
Cool.
So Roger is in this cavern with Skippy. He notices that it seems to be water here. He turns to Skippy and says, "Do you know where we are?
I think I might have an idea.
What is this place?"
I'm not sure you're ready to know. So Skippy leads Roger further into the cavern, recognizing that they're in not the same ancient tomb that he was used to the ceremonies taking place in, and realizes that the walls are covered in writing, that he, as he starts to piece through them, realizes that this is a much older cavern than the one that he is used to the ceremonies taking place in.
Wending his way down these stairs, just serpentine, just twisting through stairs, like caverns, not taking all the right turns. He's now wearing the gold high priest mask set with odd stones that shimmer with a life of their own and a light. And in fact, the mask gives off enough light that he can move forward. The judge makes his way deep underground.
The professor appears. He appears on the shore of the underground lake. The phosphorescent blind fish are in the lake, and they are sort of hopping around as he fades into view. He's half in and half out of the lake. Can't really move his body, and that's when they start to eat his feet. And he cries out in pain. Ah! Ah!
Roger hears someone crying out, but it's a weird situation. It sounds almost like it's flanged, like it's not quite coming from where they are, but at the same time, he could swear that it's got to be coming from the water. So he heads towards the water to see what's going on.
Skippy, too transfixed by the writing on the wall, pays no attention to where Roger's going. The more he reads, though, the more he becomes terrified.
The judge makes it down to the altar, the stone altar, and he saw lying on the shore with his feet in the water being devoured by these fish, the professor. But he's single-minded purpose. He works his way to the altar, trailing blood, which as it drips into the water makes the fish more frenzied. He works his way up to the top of the stone altar, ignoring the professor's screams. That's another world.
Who is that? Who is that there? Ah, help me! And it's with this that the underground lake begins to bubble and bubble and bubble. The white fish scatter as if something has disturbed them. And from the depths, a great figure begins to emerge. Bulbous tentacles begin slithering out along the walls and ceiling as they descend upon the professor and just wrap around his body, his neck and appendages, and just slowly pull him into the water as he's gurgling. And he disappears forever.
So we're going to flash forward a little bit.
Nice, good.
Or
yes.
many, many years later.
Yes, yeah, perfect.
Where Skippy finally sort of comes back to his senses to find himself in a padded room in a straitjacket, realizing that his beard is now... He now has a beard, and it is quite long. and he's just rocking back. Finally stops rocking back and forth to simply say, "The pie. The pie."
So the judge reaches the stone altar. He's standing there at it. He starts to gesture, make the motions. Blood is dripping off his arm onto the altar and filling the sigils with blood, and the cavern begins to shake and rock. The thing that came up has gone back down, but the water is moving more violently, and the whole town is shaking. But he doesn't know this. A stalactite, right, tight to the ceiling, comes straight down, piercing him through the skull and splitting him asunder, exploding him into the cavern, and the mask clatters onto the stone altar.
Roger finds himself drawn into the water. He can't help himself. He feels compelled. He dives into the water, looking to try and hear where the screaming was coming from. When he comes up, he's in the cavern, but it's not quite the same cavern. And he looks around to see the body of Judge Wroth on the altar and a mask rolling towards him. And he hears a voice in his head, "Take the mask."
Take the mask.
And it goes dark.
With that, our story ends. We'll return again with a new tale to spin to dare to entertain. I was one of your players, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho, on Snapchat at NotDeadJohn. Ken, where can people find you?
You can find me, Ken Breeze, at burlingsbeard.com. Also at burlingsbeard on Twitter, BERLINGS, beard. And I'm also on G+. Check me out.
You can find me at Instagram at Stadomo, STADOMO.
All right. And Steve, thanks again for playing with us.
Yeah,
It
Steve,
was
you're
a lot
awesome.
of fun. I would like to come back if you will have me. My name's Steve Moverly. I can be found at stephenmoverly.com on the interwebs.
All right. So to learn more about the players and the engine in our story, visit boardghost.com. You can attempt to pierce the veil and contact us at BoardGhostWorld on Twitter. Shout out through the ether if you have any desires we can fulfill. We are also on Facebook. There's a Board Ghost World page, or I think it's just called Board Ghost World. Yep. You can also find us on iTunes, also under Board Ghost or Board Ghost World. The episodes are just kind of a thumbnail of one of the illustrations for that episode, along with the
and those
audio
illustrations are awesome. They're just every week. That's one of my favorite things, is seeing what the illustration is going to be for the episode. You should go right to the website to check that out, at the very least.
Yeah, and you can leave reviews and comments on iTunes and subscribe on your preferred listening portal. Please take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest episodes. We'd like to thank Pat Couples for our theme song and interlude music. You can find more about Pat at patcouples.tumblr.com or on his band's page, hotelsandhighways.com. If you're not alone in the void, share our stories. The more they are consumed, the truer they become.
Living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute.